And in the late August, the last day of August 2007, the Bioinitiative report was published. And it does not contain all reports, but it contains a little bit more than 2,000 reports, scientific papers in peer-review-based journals, and being summarized in about 600 written pages. And again, just looking at that, you can see immediately that there is a call for a strong reduction of exposure. And as a compromise, a suggestion like 1,000 or even 10,000 times lowering of the exposure limit was suggested, but also that it should be based not on technology, but on biological principles, meaning that maybe for certain frequencies, certain gadgets, you had to lower the exposure limit much more than that. And already, I don't remember exactly the year, but I would say somewhere in the end of the 1990s, I remember a meeting we had at one of the trade unions here in Sweden, and then I got the question if there could be a safety value where you could really feel safe. And I said, just based on whatever was published at that time, of course you can have a safety level, and then it's zero. No irradiation whatsoever. That's the safety level. And I was prepared that a lot of the other scientists should stand up and say that I was wrong. But no. People said, I remember for instance, Professor Kjell Hansson Mild. He said that, yeah, Olle Johansson is right. The only safety level that we could present is 0 watts per kilogram. No irradiation. Meaning, in a room like this, that if I would turn this on, it would be completely silent, as it would have been 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, when these things were not around at all, you know. Yeah. And maybe we ask too much about biology to sort of being able to cope with all these maybe even toxic exposures, and in such an enormous quantity, and just adding and adding and adding. And I would be happy, of course, to be able, as a sort of mental fire brigade soldier, to investigate these, and I would be very happy if I could come up with the answer to say there isn't any danger. Just go ahead. Expose your child, your baby, yourself, whatever, you know. It's all right. But today I just cannot say that. That's impossible. Then I would lie to the general public. There is so much published and so many serious documentations ranging from effects on the brain, on the heart, on the fetus, on the reproduction, regarding cancer, neurological diseases, blood-brain barrier leakage, changes in the immune system, the functional impairment electrohypersensitivity, which is a very sort of cornerstone, I would say, in these discussions, and so on, so on. I mean, there's so much. And even more scary, in a sense, you know, are the last year's documentations regarding damaging effects, for instance, on tomato plants, which, when they are exposed to mobile phone irradiation, they react as if they had been seriously damaged. It's a serious damage to them, you know. And it's very hard to believe that the tomato plant is out to read a newspaper or watch television and get the mass media driven psychosis, or that they are trying to get money from the social security system. Tomato plants don't do that. But if they are harmed, that's a very, very serious alarm bell to mankind. Because if they are harmed, then most likely we are also harmed. And furthermore, there are studies, you know, like on bacteria, for instance, that also get altered and changed and harmed and so on. And I'm surprised that so few people actually react. When I'm out giving lectures, for instance, I mention some sort of slight effects. For instance, there are studies, very clear-cut studies, that show that mobile phones, if you use them, you will statistically get a headache. And then I ask people, do you want to have a headache when you use your mobile phone? And so far, no one has said, yes, I want to have a headache. Not even people from the telecom sector, operators or telecom producers. They also said, no way, I don't want to have a headache, And now we are talking about a headache. We are not talking about infertility, cancer, or Alzheimer's disease. I understand people don't want to have that, but they don't even want to have a headache. But still, people continue to use it, and maybe they play with their life and the future. I hope not, of course. I constantly say that. But then I would also have to look into these issues as a scientist. And also, if you look on the very thick bioinitiative report containing 3 books even, it was so thick so it couldn't be published as one book. It's 3 books, that means that all the published papers in there must all be wrong. If all are wrong, then it's safe. But it has never happened in science that thousands of papers are wrong at the same time. Never. So that's very unlikely,
When we talk about babies, and you say tomato plants and so,
yeah.
If we say storks,
yeah.
I have read scientific that storks get infertile nearby mobile masts.
That's true, and that's also a very interesting study. And often when I think about these various studies, they are sort of like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. It's actually a 3-dimensional puzzle, you can say, and they are floating around in a mental space, and maybe they are connected, maybe not, but only further research can really resolve this question mark. But this is such a question mark. It's undoubtedly so. When people have, with very advanced statistics and mathematics, looked into this, they have seen that there is a correlation between problems giving birth, as you say, and closeness to mobile masts. And if it was just one such study, I wouldn't say very much about it. But to it, you can connect other studies clearly showing, for instance, a reduction in motility and quality in male sperm cells from men having used mobile phones. And you have the studies showing that mice being irradiated at a very far distance from the various form of radio, TV, and mobile signals, they got an infertility problem in the 5th generation, meaning that maybe Swedes and Danes cannot get babies in about 150 years' time from now, and then it's very, very late to say sorry or to stop it. I mean, it's just impossible,